Do kids really need constant support to succeed? Or can too much actually hold them back? Many parents feel pulled in both directions on this question. I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I help parents find calmness, build environments where families can be emotionally strong, and I help parents find that sweet spot for supporting their children. In this video, as we discuss, is parental support essential for future success? I'm going to help you find the balance that actually works for your child and for your parenting style. I think it's important that we first talk about, can too much support be just that, too much? And the answer is actually yes. I think when parents do anything with their children, we have to give them the benefit of the doubt. They're trying to do something good. They're trying to help the child in some way. Maybe they want that child not to have to face a mistake that they had to face. Maybe they want the child to be socially successful, academically successful. But when it goes too far is when a parent starts micromanaging everything and doing everything for the child. You can actually disable a child by enabling a child. So if the child brings home their homework and you're basically doing it all for them so that they get a good grade, or you're making excuses for their misbehavior all the time instead of actually correcting the misbehavior, or if you are controlling everything that they say and do so that they don't have any social mistakes with words that they might say, so that they never say anything mean or something like that. I know your intentions could be good, but it actually could hurt the child. Now that said, we also don't want to take too big of a hands-off approach. Previous generations have proved that that is not effective. So after World War II, parents were super heavy-handed and they started getting short-tempered, a little bit more violent. There was, the movement toward get the belt, get the stick off of the tree to beat the children, that type of thing. They were more militant because they'd just been through a whole military time where most of the head of households were serving in the military in some way. There was a lot of factory work that was going on. People were definitely on this conveyor belt of, you just must behave and that's it, that's it. And they didn't have a lot of patience for people who didn't behave, especially after they had just controlled themselves so much to get through this hard time. When their children started acting up, they were like, oh no, you don't. You don't go disrespect everything that I put my life on the line for, that my neighbors and my friends and my family members died for. Oh no, you don't do that. And so there was a lack of patience that was there. So then what happened shortly after that is there were psychologists and people that came on the scene with theories saying, well, maybe don't parent your child, maybe just be their friend because it's just getting a little too heavy-handed, which probably it was true, it was getting too heavy-handed, but this friend approach to parenting actually created a lot of problems. It made it so that parents took a hands off and they said, okay, well then I'm not going to tell you what to do. You just do you. You pick your own life path, and as long as you don't break the law, it's probably fine. I'm going to do my own thing. And there was this modern progressive parenting structure that was born. It was really permissive. Then that actually created its own problem. In fact, we turned out a worse generation of young people, a more selfish and entitled generation of young people than we actually had under the militant parents. So it actually proved to be really bad. I actually have a whole book on this different type of parenting, the history of it, the results of the different types of parenting, and so you could assess maybe where you fall in. It's called Popular Parenting Methods. It's one of the 15 books that I've written. So can you control and support too much? Yes. If your supportiveness turns into controlling, turns into doing everything for them, then you're going to disable them. And so then, yeah, that's too far. But can you also take a hands-off approach too much? Yeah. Can you free range parent a child to the point where they think you actually just don't care, that you're just leaving everything to them? Yeah. You can do that too. So you see there's this kind of balance, this sweet spot that really parents, I think, are looking for. I think they know they need to train their children. And probably you feel that way, which is why we're having this conversation today. But parents don't want to be the bad guy, the bully. They don't want things to be emotionally manipulative in their homes. And so they're looking for the right things to say. The best thing that you can do is keep in mind the development of a child. They need to make mistakes. They need to take risks sometimes. Those are important things. Those are things that lead to the free range parenting movement, or that a little bit more hands-off movement. But they also need to have skill development. Otherwise, when they're out there on their own doing something, they're actually not going to be able to succeed because they won't know how to solve problems. So they need to be trained in problem solving. They need to be trained in social skills, how to communicate with other people. That's where the sweet spot really is. It's the training. Are you doing the training, and then are you letting them fail or succeed and then following up with them afterward? That's the sweet spot. You don't have to control everything. You don't have to be mean. You just have to do the training. So what does that look like in my family? So I took in treatment children. I needed to train them. They had a lot of severe backgrounds, actually. I did therapeutic treatment care for these troubled children. It was foster care. And they needed a lot of training to handle a lot of their problems, to just recover, honestly, for a lot of things, but then to prepare going forward, because they might have to launch off on their own into the world, being neurodiverse, dealing with trauma in their background. We needed to get them to a place where they could just function as a normal adult launching from our house. But then I also raised my own children to adulthood, and I needed to help them also learn the things that they needed to be confident, strong, and to problem solve. And I also wanted to do it in a way that empowered them to make more decisions and not just rely on me for everything. I wanted them to learn how to think, not just what to think. So I did this by determining my core principles that I wanted to convey to the children. So one of those core principles is the principle of self-government. So you see the name of this channel is called Teaching Self-Government. That's because everything here is about teaching parents and children how to have self-mastery, how to choose it, and what things to change about themselves so that they are actually the most productive and most successful. So if you've subscribed to this channel already, then you know I talk a lot about calmness on this channel. One of the most important things that you can do to keep that balance for your children between supportive and not going over the top is making sure that your tone is right. Keep your calmness where it needs to be so that it conveys the message of, it's okay if we need to solve this problem. That's what this phase of your life is about. No big deal. We can handle it. But also it's firm enough that you'll be consistent and actually do the corrections when needed. When I do a correction for children, I often say things like, if you choose to accept the no answer on the TV right now, then that's great. You can have time to do something else. I'll praise you for that. We'll give you a high five. You'll get to practice accepting that no answer skill, which is good for your life. Or if you choose not to accept the no answer and you don't turn the TV off, then that's okay. We'll just get the opportunity to take some time to do a correction, and we'll get to practice things the right way. You'll get the opportunity to earn a negative consequence, but that's fine. So here's the no answer. No, I need you to not watch the TV right now. And then if they choose not to accept that no answer, which there's 4 steps to that. I don't have time to go into that into this video. But if they choose not to accept that no answer, then at that point, I'm going to start a correction. And I'm going to say, well, just now I gave you a no answer and you didn't keep a calm face, voice, and body. You didn't say okay or disagree appropriately, and you didn't drop the subject about it. And so I see you're choosing not to accept a no answer. When you do that, that actually takes more of your time, because now we're going to have to take the time to do a correction and practice things the right way, but that's fine. And I'm going to go on with this correction. We're going to practice it. They're going to get the opportunity to earn an extra chore. They're going to go through all of this experience of learning, but do you see my tone? Do you see what it's like? It's like, this is fine, no big deal. I'm not worried about it. That's one of the biggest things that you can do as you're developing that supportive tone for your children. Your children learn to trust you. They learn to listen to you, to not be afraid of corrections. That's big. If you want them to be successful in life, teach them to not be afraid of corrections. Teach them to disagree appropriately with you when they have something that they have to say. That's going to also be a big thing. I taught my children that they could explain where they were coming from. If they didn't agree with something I wanted to do, they could always use the skill disagreeing appropriately. And that was going to be very beneficial for them, because I was going to listen. And oftentimes I would even let them have their way if it wasn't a big deal, just because they used the skill. They knew that. So is parental support essential for children? Yes, but how you do it is probably the most important thing. So definitely support your children, but don't do it to the point of suffocation and taking all their choices away. Let them fail sometimes, and don't be afraid to do a correction, but teach them how you will do it. And be prepared ahead of time. I'd love to train you more on the 4 basic skills of self-government and on how to do a really great correction. There is a video that teaches that. The video is called, it's a full-length class, is called The Not So Known Secret for Parenting Success. So click on the link to that video next. I'll see you there.